can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times, as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
That's a very basic, direct question.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
8 times, or at least once, in regards to...
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so we are awaiting. We're back. Okay, hello. How are you doing? We are awaiting Cringe Jean-Pierre after the psychotic meltdown that occurred yesterday. Cringe will be coming back for more, I guess. Another hot cup of tea. She had an apoplectic seizure on the dais yesterday when everybody started asking about Joe Biden and his Parkinson's disease. And we thought, wow, that's very interesting. We've never actually, we don't typically carry these events live, right? The press conference, and you're seeing the live shot of the press conference, White House press pool room right there. We don't normally carry these things live. Oh, here comes some people. Is that no? Okay. The reason why is because they're kind of boring, right? And a lot of the press just like slowly remove the ball gag from their mouth, slowly put on, like get down on all fours in their little gimp suits and like grovel for Cringe Jean-Pierre's approval. It's degrading, actually. Typically these press conferences, but we saw something shocking yesterday when a bunch of reporters decided to gang up on Cringe Jean-Pierre and actually start screaming at her about the White House lies to the press. And this was a shocking moment. And so we said, well, you know what? Like, if these are going to actually get interesting, then maybe we'll take a couple of them live and let the chat have a say and let people just determine whether they're interesting or not. They are, of course, the Biden White House is facing a ton of headwinds right now. I guess you could use that. That would be a polite term. The Biden White House is in total and complete shambles. Let's go ahead and check on the news. There's so much breaking news right now. And of course, you can see we have a live shot set up to go live whenever Cringe comes doddering out. We'll take it live. And these are starting to break a lot of news. These press conferences are beginning to truly be pretty legendary in their meltdown capacity. And so again, it's interesting. It's happening live right now. So we'll be live with it. Some of the breaking news right now from around the country. And again, we will snap right back as soon as we have our Benny production team on hand and ready to go to pop right back when Cringe comes hopping out. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Scoop, according to Axios, you may recall that Joe Biden is doing there's like a little secret Democrat meeting that's happening at the DNC right now. Joe Biden was supposed to speak with them, but didn't have the energy, so he just blew him off. Blew him off. Yeah, that's right. Not like the way Kamala Harris got her career started, but still kind of the same, right? He blew off a bunch of Democrats. So Scoop, just before House Democrats come to Jesus meeting today on President Biden's path forward, a small group of swing state Democrats held what sources described as a despondent gathering with actual tears. We say panic in D.C. We say that these people are actually they're actually crying real tears. They are, in fact, crying real tears. Get a load of this. One Democrat insider tells me that members have been briefed on polling that shows House Democrats could lose 20 seats. 20. We're supposed to win the House, the source said, and that's why they're crying. It's so good. So this is happening concurrently, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we are here for the White House press briefing, and as soon as it picks up, we will go right to it. But, ladies and gentlemen, who knows what exciting note cards Cringe Jean-Pierre is writing for herself in the back. We look forward to seeing it all. Let's continue with some of the hilarious news from today. Here's the thing. I've talked with a lot of Democrats and do so quite frequently. I haven't talked to one who privately thinks Biden is capable of running or beating Trump at this point. The debate was just a public airing of concerns many of them have experienced and expressed privately. And that was from those who felt like they could actually get time with the president over the last couple of years. Others have complained of very limited controlled interactions. Apparently, Nurse Ratched, Jill Biden, severely controls who can speak to Joe Biden, don't want too much truth to hit those old tin can ears of his. But they also don't want to be ostracized publicly or feel like it's already determined that Biden will be the nominee. So here we go. Here's what happened inside of the little secret Democrat meeting. We're getting all these leaks out right now. Remember, they banned Democrat staff from attending, just the members of Congress, and they banned Democrats from taking their cell phones in so nobody could record it or leak live during the meeting. Inside the room, House Democrat caucus meeting about President Joe Biden's political standing and party panic. One House Democrat supportive of Biden told me it felt like a funeral. That's so good. Oh, do we have any of these clips? Are they saying any Democrat had the balls to say this to the public? This is great. It felt like a funeral. There was no consensus on Biden. Lots of talk about how difficult the situation is for Dems. Rep. Jahia Haynes, never heard of her, said that putting Harris atop the ticket would be setting her up for failure. Oh my. Mark Tanko said he saw a poll recently that showed Biden losing his district. Biden won his district by 62% last time. Oh, man. How many illegal votes were there? How many illegal votes will there be? Ooh, baby. Oh, yeah. So what's going on right now as far as polling is concerned? Do we have this clip, Climb? Okay, fantastic. Down ballot effects of Joe Biden are clear. A Biden loss for Democrats. This is what is current. And by the way, it's not like this is the fall of 2023. The election's in like 100 days. The election is so soon. We head to the RNC convention next week. The Democrat convention takes place 2 weeks after that. You don't have time to fix this. The ship is on fire and taking on water, and there's cannonballs flying through it. Best to just go to lifeboats. This is what CNN is saying. If Biden loses, the chances of Democrats holding Senate is close to zero because the map of West Virginia being such an easy GOP pickup, the math is already zero for the Senate. Republicans are going to control the Senate, and Mitch McConnell is going to be out on his ass, and that'll be so good. We look forward to flipping the turtle on his shell. Here's what CNN has to say on camera, holding back tears at this point. So good.
Biden, but the fact of the matter is, you look at the national polling, the generic congressional ballot choice for U.S. House. Look at this. CNN poll, +2 Republican. Wall Street Journal poll, +3 Republican. Monmouth University poll, +3 Republican. Yeah, Joe Biden may be in slightly worse shape in these particular polls, but the fact is when Biden's down 4, 5, 6 points in these polls, you can only run so far ahead of Joe Biden. At this particular point, at least in the race for the House, it does seem like Republicans are ahead because Donald Trump is so far ahead.
What's the Senate landscape?
Yeah, what's the Senate landscape? I mean, take a look here. GOP needs just a gain of 1 for control if Trump wins. And their path is extremely clear because their best chance for a pickup opportunity is in West Virginia. That's a very likely GOP win with Joe Manchin retiring. And the best Dem pickup chance, perhaps to reverse that so the GOP doesn't gain a net gain of at least 1, is Texas. But that's still a likely GOP win. So the fact is, if Donald Trump wins this election, the race for the Senate, for all intents and purposes in my mind, is over.
One of the things I have heard from Democrats running for Congress is, okay, if President Biden's not doing well, what we'll say is it makes it all that much more important to elect a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate. Maybe they can gain support that way. But does it work like that, split tickets anymore?
It really doesn't. Let's go back since 2000. Same party won presidency and Congress. Yes, 5 times. No was just 1 time in 2012, the House that year. But the House popular vote that year actually went Democratic, even though Republicans maintained control of the House. So the fact is, 5 out of 6 times, that's not good math. And let's just take a look at the Senate here. Senate and presidential races in 2016 and 2020. States that voted the same way in both, 68. States that voted for a different party, just 1. That was Maine back in 2020. The fact is, straight ticket voting is the way of the land these days. The idea that Democrats down ballot could somehow outrun Joe Biden to such a great extent to win control in the House or maintain control in the Senate, that seems to be an unlikely proposition.
That is a pretty stark number.
Yeah,
right?
those are pretty clear numbers, John.
Harry, thank you very much.
Yikes. Ooh, baby. Once again, we bring you tidings of great joy and good news. This is going to be a wild ride through the election. We have some interesting articles breaking out of this Democrat meeting. That is the thing that everybody's talking about right now. Again, the Democrats held a secretive little private meeting where they locked up everybody's phones and no one was allowed to bring any electronics in, and they sat them all down. And Nancy Pelosi, in a dominatrix outfit with a whip, right, and one of those comically large like prop glasses for the martinis, right? Like a really large, like clown martini, okay? But it's actually filled and it's very strong and it's very dirty. And she's just guzzling that thing down and she's slamming the gavel and she's cracking her whip and she's saying, no more insider trading tips for you if you vote against Joe Biden. And Democrats are pointing to polls like this and saying, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We're doomed. We're doomed if we don't. Check this out. Okay, so real clear polling average on this day in prior campaigns, going all the way back to George W. Bush. Here we go. And Joe Biden, who said the polls have always been against me. Joe Biden was up 9 points. 9 points. Hillary Clinton was up 5 points, nearly 5 points on Trump. Nobody remembers exactly what a bloodbath they had predicted for Hillary Clinton on election night, right? Nobody remembers these things, like that the polling was actually so demonstrably rigged in favor of Democrats. So that Joe Biden did not beat Donald Trump by 9 points, right? Joe Biden needed special, exciting, really dramatic election night ballot drops at 3 a.m. In order to win that election. So this polling is incredibly wrong, right? Joe Biden did not win by a 9-point margin. Hillary Clinton, of course, lost, ladies and gentlemen. So this shows you how bad the polling is rigged in favor of Democrats. Barack Obama had 2 points on Mitt Romney here. I think that might have held. Barack Obama had 4 points in 2008 on McCain, and John Kerry had 2 points on George W. Bush. The point is that this is the first time in 24 years that the GOP nominee has led after July 4th holiday going into conventions. We are witnessing history right now. We are also witnessing a historically late cringe Jean Pierre. She's now an hour late to her press conference. Again, we'll go there when she starts talking. But she's now 1 hour late. So the beatings shall continue until morale improves. And again, it was a brutal press conference yesterday, and we look forward to seeing what happens, what materializes today. So there is doom and gloom around the Democrat Party. This is the most recent reporting. This was published less than an hour ago from inside of the secret Democrat meeting. Can we also load up the correspondent outside of that secret DNC meeting from this morning, so we can sort of give like a little bit of context here? Biden rebels in Congress see their revolt crumbling. That's a good thing, and that's a good thing for us. Just before House Democrats Tuesday morning come to Jesus meeting on President Biden's path forward, a small group of swing state Democrats held what sources described as a despondent gathering with actual tears. Why it matters. The block of battleground House Democrats was one of the last firm pockets of rapidly disintegrating movement on Capitol Hill to get Biden off the ticket. One shell-shocked lawmaker who was present at the meeting characterized it as intense. Another described the mood as pretty much unanimous that Biden has got to step down, adding, there were actual tears from people and not for Joe Biden. These are great excerpts. Democrats' full caucus meeting was far less unanimous, with lawmakers defending Biden and airing concerns about his ability to beat Donald Trump. Just a reminder that last week, this weekend, 2 days ago, Joe Biden was chirping at the camera, saying he can't wait to debate Donald Trump again, and Donald Trump's scared of him. It's an amazing clip. Can't wait to debate Trump again. Okay, please make my day, pal, as they say. Paraphrasing Clint Eastwood, make my day. One House Democrat who was in both meetings said most of our caucus still with him, meaning he'll stay in, which sucks for the country. Sucks. These are Democrats talking about each other. All right. So exciting times Going in and out of the meeting, several House Democrats who have previously raised concern about Biden said that they are now with him. Whether or not I have concerns is beside the point. He's going to be our nominee, and we all have to support him, say Jerry Nadler. Jerry Nadler recently, as of this weekend, called for Joe Biden to step aside publicly. So bad news. Bad news there. But good news for us. I have gone from impeach Joe Biden. It was like 2 years ago. We were like, yeah, let's impeach him. To please, for the love of all things, please keep Joe Biden in the race as much as possible. On Monday evening, Biden joined a call with Congressional Black Caucus members, his strongest base of support on Capitol Hill, to cement their backing. Last night, House Democrats, deeply skeptical of Biden, acknowledged to Axios that Democrats were folding all over the place and becoming realigned to Biden, holding all the cards there and having no real say in the matter. As somebody who wanted the reckoning, it's really disappointing that it's over. Trust me, it's over, one lawmaker added. So you're not going to get some big, what was potentially materializing here, metastasizing, was a bunch of Democrats in the House saying that they're going to kick out Joe Biden. And that they're going to all call, there's going to be like a large block, like 100 Democrats that sign on some letter saying that we don't support Joe Biden and we're for a open convention or whatever they were going to do, right? And the bachelorette, probably a bachelorette thing, you know, like co-hosted by Oprah and Chelsea Handler and Dylan Mulvaney, right? And it'd be like a big bachelorette, and that's how they'll pick. They'd give a rainbow rose, right, to the winner of Democrat Bachelorette. DEI Bachelorette is what it would be. Speaking, ladies and gentlemen, of people who certainly need help with their jobs, Karine Jean-Pierre still not out. I can show you the live shot here. Karine Jean-Pierre still not at the podium. We are monitoring live, and she is more than an hour late now for her press conference. So we just said let's rip it and riff off the news of the day, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Biden's letter to congressional Democrats on Monday morning stated firmly that he's staying in the race and telling them to end discussions of him withdrawing appears to have galvanized lawmakers. Lloyd Doggett, he was the first guy to call for Joe Biden to step aside, one of the half dozen House Democrats who have urged Biden to drop out, conceded to Axios he clearly did a preemptive effort to try and discourage any questions with his letter. I think there's a pretty strong consensus that we need to close the ranks, and this is amazing. When your enemy is making a mistake, don't interrupt him. I believe this is Sun Tzu's Art of War, paraphrased by Napoleon, but either way, don't interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. This is awesome. They've outflanked us, said the Democrats, through tears. When there's this kind of show of force, it's hard to imagine people going to speak out against him, said one House Democrat. Bottom line, after the full caucus meeting on Tuesday, the lawmakers told Axios that the revolt is over, and said the gathering only confirmed that view. There's no surprise there, the lawmaker said. So it's done. So there it is. There will be no 50 Democrats calling for Joe Biden, 50, 100. There were big numbers. I mean, what we were hearing last week was dozens of congressional Democrats will stand arm in arm and say Joe Biden must step down now. And they'll say it, and they'll say we're finished here. But that will not be happening, apparently. Nancy Pelosi decided to crack the whip, right? No more NVIDIA stock for you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, now we look back to the White House, and we are we're thrilled to announce that Karine Jean-Pierre is once again remarkably late here. But we'll stay on it. We'll see. They said it was going to be 1 o'clock, and they said it was going to be 1:45, and now it is past 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we continue to roll. Peter Doocy was reporting from the White House moments ago, and again, you'll know when she's about to come out for her press briefing, because you'll see the front row fill up with all the networks. You see like a few people there, but you'll see like the network reporters will leave their TV hits and will come back in ready for the briefing. So that's sort of marquee sign that they're going to rock and roll. One of the network anchors, Peter Ducey, who will be there today because he's just doing a live hit on Fox, had this to say about the nightmarish conditions for cringe Jean-Pierre as she prepares to lie to the American people once again.
And John, you described what happened in here yesterday as chaotic. The reason is that there were very basic questions about whether or not President Biden had been seen by a Parkinson's specialist at all, and there were no answers to those very basic questions. But about 8 hours after that briefing wrapped, close to 10 o'clock last night, the president's doctor released a letter via the White House, and he explained that President Biden has not, for any reason, seen this neurologist or any neurologist since his last physical that they told us about in February. So despite some of the recent reporting and anonymous sources, people close to the president who claim that he has been slipping more in private and on the road, there has not been a reason, according to the White House medical team, to re-screen him. And they are telling us, the president's doctor is telling us, that this Dr. Kevin Kennard did not come to the White House all those times because of his Parkinson's specialty, but instead because he is a movement disorders specialist who has been seeing patients at the White House for more than 12 years. Why that was not able to be shared yesterday, we don't know, but we expect that to be at least the beginning of today's event. Also notable, on Capitol Hill, as Democratic lawmakers try to sort out whether or not they are going to firmly back President Biden staying in the race, the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was asked about cabinet-level discussions of the 25th Amendment to remove the president that way. She says if the secretaries are talking about it, she doesn't know about it. John.
Okay, got it. So everybody is silent as the grave on the question of Joe Biden's rapidly deteriorating health and rapidly deteriorating polls. We have brand new polling out here, just updated. Joe Biden versus Donald Trump in the presidential betting rounds and odds. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is an absolute brutal spread. You can see Donald Trump taking every spread. Here, there's one tie, but otherwise Donald Trump's up 6, 4, 6, 6 with a 3.3 point spread. Now, this is again, as we have reported here, the best position that any Republican has been in the last 30 years. In the last 30 years of presidential polling, heading into the GOP convention. What a remarkable moment in American history. Look at that. Here's this is the July 9th, that is today, 2024, polling split between Trump and Biden. Wow. So the polling from swing states is also quite brutal. The polling in swing states is even worse for Joe Biden. Joe Biden does better nationally than he does, obviously, amongst swing states. But as you can break out in the crosstabs, Trump is dominating in Arizona. He's up by 4 points in Arizona, by 1 point in Michigan, 3 points in Wisconsin, and matching leads with Nevada. And in Pennsylvania, his lead grew from 2 points to 5 points. In Georgia, his lead expanded from 4 points to 5 points. Once again, we say this like there's just no good data out there for Democrats right now. Maybe that's why cringe is taking her time today. We don't know. We're not sure. We don't know. But when we're ready to go with the press conference, we'll let her ride. We see some movement and some shuffling around, but no cringe just yet. Again, yesterday was a barn burner from the press dais. It was a fascinating moment where Cringe Jean-Pierre was actually pressed by the reporters to answer some pretty serious questions, like, does Joe Biden have Parkinson's, and why are you meeting with all of the Parkinson's experts in the White House? You can see here from the Morning Consult poll, all Democrats, Independents, Republicans, the polling breakout, Donald Trump winning. Morning Consult is left-wing polling, and they have Trump winning. So this is why Democrats are crying. This is why the reports are that like Democrats are in tears and not in tears for Joe Biden. according to the reports, Biden approval in X history. This is today's date, and here's the Joe Biden approval, -22. Jeez. Oh man, -22. You can see -25s in here. Joe Biden, the most disliked resident of the White House ever to run for re-election. So very historic. They say that Joe Biden's a historic figure, and it's very historic. So, ladies and gentlemen, we continue to await Cringe Jean-Pierre. Now, she did have a meltdown yesterday. I think that do we have those clips? Yeah. Okay. We'll show you what we may be walking into here as we prepare to hear Cringe at some iteration. We'll see if it happens sometime in the century. The meltdown yesterday that inspired us to go live today for the White House press conference. Here we go.
So do not want to share. I'm not going to share people's names from here. But the president, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
It's a very basic, direct question.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
8 times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
That's what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please. So every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying. I am telling you that he has seen them 3 times. That is what I'm sharing with you, right? So every time he has a physical, he has had to see a neurologist. So that is answering that question.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It is. You're
Dr.
asking me.
Kevin Kennard, come to the White House.
But I also said to you,
condition.
Ed, I also said to you, for security reasons, we cannot share names. We cannot share names.
You cannot
we
share
have
names
to. We have
of
to.
others he would have met with.
We
but
cannot.
You can share names in regards to if someone came here in regards to the president.
We cannot share names of specialists broadly, from a dermatologist to a neurologist. We cannot share names. There are security reasons. We have to protect.
It's public.
I understand that.
I hear you. Right there for anyone to see.
Ed, I hear you. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy. I think they would appreciate that too. We have to give them.
Question of the doctor.
We have to keep their privacy.
It is public information.
I hear you.
And you're going to allow this to fester longer, Karina, unless the White House answers the
hold on a second. There's no reason to go back and forth with me in this aggressive way.
Missed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps about here.
What do you missed about? What do you missed about?
Everything he just asked about.
And then every time I come back and I answer the question that you guys asked.
Correctly, then have to come back and clean up.
I never answered the question incorrectly. That is not true. I was asked about a medical exam. I was asked about a physical. That was in the line of question that I answered. And I said, no, he did not have a medical exam. And I still stand by that. Matter of fact, the president still stands by that. He had a verbal check-in. That is something that the president has a couple times a week.
Now in regards to Dr. Kevin Kennard.
And I am telling you right now that I am not sharing confirming names from here. It is a security reasons. I am not going to do that, Ed. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me. I'm not going to confirm a name. It doesn't matter if it's even in the log. I am not going to do that from here. That is not something I am going to do. What I can share with you is that the president has seen a neurologist for his physical 3 times. 3 times. And it is in the reporting that we share a comprehensive reporting. Matter of fact, it's more than what the last guy shared, and it is in line with what George W. Bush did. It's in line with what Obama did. And so it is comprehensive. It is out there. I just read a quote from it, but I am not going to divulge somebody's name or confirm someone. I'm not going to do that. That is as privacy for that person. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me from here. I'm just not going to do that. It is inappropriate. It is not acceptable. So I'm not going to do it.
Oh, man. Okay, so you have to understand like there's like a small mechanical absurdity to what's being described here. Guys, get me that Alex Berenson tweet with the White House press log. So there's a rule when you enter the White House. Have you been to the White House? A lot of people go to the White House, right? You go to the White House for there are large events that are held at the White House. There are private tours that are held at the White House. There are public tours of the White House. Whenever you go to the White House, you have to give them your social security number, right? You got to give them all of your identification. They do a full background check on you. In fact, there are regular occurrences at the White House where they don't like the background check, right? There was some guy that had a connection to like some type of extremist Islamic group, and he was kept out of the White House. He was like an imam, and he was kept out of the White House this last year. There was a big brouhaha about it, but they were like, nope, sorry, you did not pass your background check. And while we're not going to arrest you, you're not allowed to go into the White House. They are very, very specific and very thorough in who the Secret Service, and when I say they, I mean the Secret Service and their protocols, let into the White House. There were some scandals with Barack Obama, with some people who weren't invited into the White House being able to gain access to White House grounds, and man, they have tightened those things up. It's what boggles the mind for us when it comes to getting crack cocaine into the White House, because, well, part of the reason why you would be so hard to do that is because you have to pass by drug-sniffing dogs when you are entering the White House. In fact, you go and you stand on these giant rubber mats. And you stand on these mats, and these German Shepherds, this is totally true, by the way, German Shepherds like sniff you up and down. It's far more intrusive than anything you've ever been through with TSA. These massive German Shepherds, like thoroughbreds, sniff you for drugs. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that they are extremely sophisticated and very specific as to who is entering and exiting the White House. This is what makes the cocaine scandal so absurd, and this is what makes the Parkinson's scandal so absurd right now. There's a Parkinson's scandal that is going on with the White House, where a Parkinson's expert, I don't know if we have the visitor logs yet or not, but a Parkinson's expert named Kevin R. Kennard. Oh yeah, please pop them up if you don't mind. Oh, actually, I got it. Here we go. I got it. Yep, I'll zip them over. Thank you. Okay, Parkinson's expert Robert Kennard, Kevin Robertson Kennard, who's an expert in neurology and in Parkinson's. He works at Walter Reed. He's also a Biden donor. He just happens to be a Biden donor. This dude like went to the White House a dozen times and had secret meetings with a secretive individual that cannot be named. So what you're seeing there was Cringe Jean-Pierre having a meltdown, and that's clearly what's happening right now, and why they're late. Something bad is happening. Something bad is happening here. They're very late. They're pushing an hour and 20 minutes late for this press briefing, and no signs of the front row in there. So it's like something bad has gone on. Something's gone wrong. Okay, for the briefing to be this late, something's amiss, and it also, when you're this late, you can see the reporters who've had their asses in seats for this long. They get pissed off, right? Because these reporters have other things to do, and they get like irritated because they want the press briefing. Now you can see reporters getting up to go take a pee break, and the entire room gets antsy and it gets hot in there. So this is something's wrong. Something's wrong with the White House. Like something incorrect is happening. There you can see a reporter probably going back to check in and say like, when is this thing going to pop off? Like, are you actually going to do this? This was the drama from yesterday. So Cringe Jean-Pierre couldn't even confirm that this guy, I am showing you right now, the Secret Service logs, that this guy was going to the White House. And this, of course, is now spiraling. And you expect this to be something that maybe is the reason why cringe is so delayed right now is because this news cycle is getting out of control. You know, Joe Biden has all of these signs of Parkinson's, and it's something that I'm kind of shocked didn't really occur to me because and we've talked about this. My grandfather had Parkinson's my entire life, and so many of the stiffness in the gait, the slowness in the walking, the slurred speech, the soft speech, the shaking of the hands. I witnessed that my entire childhood through my adolescence. And man, it like just clicks now and I can't get out of my head. Somebody else who can't get out of their head is Parkinson's experts who have been appearing on national TV, not on some of the farther left or farther right shows, but on like straight news, like the non-opinion shows on NBC, which this shocked me. So this is like supposedly a hard news show on NBC. These people are frauds, but nonetheless, this is how they market themselves. And this guy goes on, this Parkinson's doctor goes on and just lays waste to the idea that Joe Biden is a healthy president. Listen to him just like salt the earth and say, yes, Joe Biden clearly has Parkinson's. It's amazing. It's like the dam is officially breaking and Democrats are anchored to this ship. They are going down with the ship here, baby. And it's beautiful. Listen.
Noticed anything that gives you a red flag as a doctor?
Oh, yeah. I see him 20 times a day in clinic. I mean, it's ironic because he has just such classic features of neurodegeneration. I mean, word finding difficulties, and that's not, oh, I couldn't find the word. That's from degeneration of the word retrieval area.
He's also overcome stuttering, though. Could that be part of that, too?
No, this is not a palatal issue or a speech discrepancy, which is very different from a lemino dysfunction, actual word retrieval, where you pick a similar question or talk around the issue, plus the rigidity, monotone voice.
Wait, go back to that, the rigidity. What do you mean?
Rigidity, loss of arm swing, standing up lordotically. You notice when he turns, it's kind of end block turning. It's not a quick turn. So that's one of the hallmarks of Parkinsonism is rigidity and bradykinesia, slow movement. And he has that hallmark, especially with the low voice that said was a cold hypophonia. A small monotone voice like this over time is a hallmark of Parkinsonism. I could have diagnosed him from across the mall.
Here are some of the symptoms from Parkinson's. We just had him up there on the screen. If we can put him back. What about the movement? Some people have pointed out the way he walks. Sometimes it's not very fast, small steps. Is that something that is common in people who are battling a disease like Parkinson's?
Yeah, it's a hallmark. Shuffling gait, we call that, so little steps. Loss of arm swing from the rigidity. When we walk, we have a nice cadence. You notice he doesn't really swing his arms. And end block turning, meaning he kind of pivots around his foot. If you said, hey, President Biden, he wouldn't go like this. So, yeah.
But I also know, and tell me if I'm wrong here, it's very hard to diagnose Parkinson's, isn't it? It's not simple. I mean, I've heard that it can be.
It's one of the easier movement disorders to diagnose, actually.
Right,
but it's so clinic. There's very little other. And I'm a Democrat. I always say about this.
Right.
It's just like this guy is not a hard case.
But I've had relatives who have gone through neurological issues, and I've heard that sometimes Parkinson's is not very easy to nail. You have to take a lot of tests.
It's early on. If you're just presented with like hallucinations, that could be a variety of things, or just the cognitive problems. That could be Alzheimer's versus Parkinsonism, and that becomes a little nebulous. But once you start manifesting the hallmark motor symptoms,
right?
Slow movement, rigidity, mass facies, hypophonia. I mean, if a med student did not pick Parkinson's on the test, they'd be remediated.
So let me ask you, you're a Democrat, you're a doctor. You sound like you're frustrated with what the White House is saying.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because, I'm an American before everything. And I look at it and say, when I used to see Russia, Soviet Union, North Korea, when they just make outrageous things, like when North Korea can't keep the lights on and they say, it was some faulty power thing. I kind of hate that kind of stuff. They had 4 years. My own party had 4 years to find, this was a wreck in slow motion. And they had 4 years to find out of 350 Americans, one person that could take the place. And here we are the day before school trying to do the homework and replace a guy who's got a neurodegenerative disease.
Dr. Pitt.
Okay, so I love being able to watch that clip now. I've been able to see that clip twice. And what really strikes you is that this guy, who is one of the world's experts on Parkinson's, says that he could diagnose Joe Biden from across the mall. So there's a bunch of people walking, it's 1,000 yards away, and he could like look at Joe Biden and be like, that guy's got Parkinson's. I mean, you know, these people who are experts, like experts in a vehicle, can just like hear the car running and kind of know, you know, what it is. Oh, it's a Johnson rod, right? It's like, people who are great at electronics, or some of the excellent videographers and creatives that we have at this company, could just fix things quick as a whistle, right? And you just hear and game theory through these problems. And this Parkinson's expert's like, nope, I can just look at Joe Biden and see that he has Parkinson's, obviously. And the corporate media reporter's like, isn't it hard? He's like, no, it's actually one of the easiest things to diagnose because you have all these big, broad symptoms. So people are starting, like, the dam is starting to break. This is some very interesting, speaking of breaking news, this is some very interesting breaking news here that is very interesting. Apparently, a Navy sailor has tried to access Joe Biden's medical records multiple times. This, ladies and gentlemen, is breaking like right now at time of recording. Ed O'Keefe, one of the writers, he's one of the guys pressing KJP so forcefully yesterday. A junior Navy sailor attempted to access the medical records of President Biden from a military medical database 3 times in February, but was unable to do so. The sailor, whose name the Navy will not disclose, is administratively disciplined after an investigation into an attempted breach. The person responsible for the breach is a junior enlisted sailor serving in the Navy's Medical Corps, based in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, major in medical hub. The sailor accessed the Genesis Medical Health System, the database for military medical records, 3 times, but he did not pull up the right Joe Biden. Interesting. They must have some, perhaps they have some major system verification confirmations for this. I mean, clearly this can't be as easy as like point and click, I don't think, but who knows, right? People are idiots generally. The Genesis system is a secure health system, and at no time was the president's personal information compromised. This guy was trying to find it. Goodness gracious. The Navy Criminal Investigative Service launched an investigation and found out what had happened during the probe. The sailor admitted he looked up the president's name out of curiosity. All right. Well, what would he have found? What would you find, ladies and gentlemen, if you look deeply into Joe Biden's medical records? You would find that Joe Biden has had multiple aneurysms, brain aneurysms, that he's had multiple plates in his head. He's gone through very experimental brain surgeries that were barbaric, and apparently that fixed him. You'd also find that Hunter Biden said that Joe Biden had dementia in 2018. So that's what you'd find if you look through Joe Biden's medical records. What would you find today? I'm not sure. But this news is breaking right now, and I guess pursuant to what we were talking about today, which what we're talking about today is, of course, Cringe Jean-Pierre being now an hour and 30 minutes late. An hour and 30 minutes late. What does that mean? That means panic at the White House. That means something bad is happening. And this will be quite interesting. Something bad is happening at the White House. Look, somebody's taking a freaking tourist picture. Look at that. Look at that. Cringe, Jean-Pierre, you've been replaced. Reverse DEI. No. No. How dare you? How dare you? Take a diverse, intersectional feminist job. How could you? White privilege. White privilege. Okay, good. She's gone. I would be totally okay with that little girl doing if that little girl like just decided off the top of her head to do the Cringe Jean-Pierre press briefing, she'd probably do a far better job. She'd probably just off the top of her head, like it looks like she's like 20 years old, probably be able to do a better job, probably be able to make more concise points. So we are starting to see, I mean, a little bit of action. This is what we're waiting on. What you are looking at here is a live shot from inside the room. Do we even have audio? We can listen. I'm not trying to filibuster or anything. There is a lot of news to talk about. But we have audio, silent as the grave. Here's our White House press briefing room. Again, a live shot. Again, the way to read these things is to look at the front row, right? And to see when all of the front row cable news reporters sit down, that means that they are ready. That means that they're ready to go and ask questions. And so that's what we're waiting for here. Everybody else is a print reporter, right, or an online reporter, and they have to sit. They have to sit in all the other seats around the room. Those are the seats that are reserved right there in the front, and those seats remain mostly empty right now, except for the AP, the sad old dusty dandruffy AP reporter who's sitting there in his orthopedics. Really excited for his Matlock rerun that he's going to watch later this afternoon. So here we go. As we await the cringe fest between the columns, just letting you know we're doing our job. We are live here, and this is again, that's very interesting. Some people are speculating that Cringe Jean-Pierre might quit. Is this her quitting? Is that what's happening right now? It finally the pressure finally got to her. Did she have a mental break? Did she have a breakdown? The White House is often late for these things, but this is really something. We have now passed the 1 hour and 30 minutes late time frame. And so this is really, this is really something. We're doing our very best to make sure that you get all of the news and that you get it live and that you get it with the kind of commentary that isn't lying to you and might even entertain you a little bit. But here we are. The press dais remains empty. And even Fox News is a little shocked at this. Just to let you know that we're not the only ones who are like, what the F is going on here? Fox News just took the live shot of the empty podium and said this.
The podium, the press secretary has not started yet. The last update that we got from the White House was that it was postponed from the original 1 o'clock scheduled time to 1:45. Now another half an hour's passed, so you can only imagine what's being discussed behind closed doors, John.
What could they be up to?
All right.
So Fox News having the exact same problems that we're having here. But I guess there's a misery loves company. And, it is indeed nice to see that everybody is speculating if Cringe Jean-Pierre quit. Did she quit? Is that it? Is this what's going on here? I don't know, man. I'm not sure. My producers are telling me that all cable news networks are taking this live and that they're all like, all of them are angry and complaining at the White House being so late for this briefing. So every major network is like, is there something bad going on here? There's also something quite shocking to me, quite interesting to me, which is that the front row is empty. Why are all the TV reporters not in their seats? Are they like going to be reporting on breaking news? Is there something, is there going to be some big announcement here? Again, the reason why shock is in our headline is that we never see two press conferences back to back. They did a press conference yesterday. They got completely bodied and cooked. And now you call another one? That's quite shocking for this White House. We never see that. It does seem like there's going to be either a resignation or something big that's going to happen here. And all of the TV anchors are huddling close to their cameras. So that's where they are, right? All the TV people are like standing next to their cameras. Now my producers are telling me that Fox News is back up with the shot, which is an indication from their producers that they'll be presumably starting again, that will be starting soon here. The indicator will be, again, you'll see all of the TV people come rolling in and sit down in their chairs. That will prove that they're ready to go. Also, producers telling me that MSNBC is back up with the shot of the empty press podium. Everybody complaining right now about the empty press podium and about a Cringe Jean-Pierre. There have been a bunch of Democrats who have been complaining about Joe Biden, and a bunch of reporters who've been complaining about Democrats for the first time in their damned lives. We played you the clip of Cringe having a total meltdown with a room that is now primed to be furious at her because some of these people, we've had this live shot up for 90 minutes. You know, we haven't been live for 90 minutes, But we've had this live shot up for a ton of time, and like all these reporters have been sitting there, and they're going to be pissed. Anyway, it was Cringe, actually, who was pissed yesterday. This is a clip that we haven't shown you yet. It's a hilarious clip. She's crying in this clip. You can see it. You can hear her voice quiver, all right? You can hear her voice shake, and you can see the mist. You can see the mistiness in her eyes as Cringe Jean-Pierre lectures the press corps about how they are to treat her. This is incredible. This is after yesterday. I'll tell you what, by the way, this is not going to create a better esprit de corps, right, with the press. This is going to make them angrier. These kind of mewling, hyperbolic lectures from Cringe. Oh, hold on. So that's Ed O'Keefe. This guy's for CBS. So he's rolling in. You can see him with his earpiece and stuff. So now we have some of the White House people coming in. And the White House feed just started. So I want to not miss anything here. The White House feed's up, MSNBC's up, Fox News is up. And we're panning over to that little door where Cringe Jean-Pierre, comes in. Okay, now you have all the cable news people come in and sit down. As Peter Ducey, obviously you know who he is, and you have some of the goofballs. This is the guy's name, Zeke Miller at the front row, Ed O'Keefe, MSNBC. You can see them all getting along. All right. So where is KJP? We actually have a tweet from Donald Trump's official war room, the official war room account of the Trump 2024 campaign. Where is KJP? They say. Where is KJP? The entire world is yelling about it right now. So here we go. Clearly something's up. Clearly. So they're an hour and 40 minutes late. The front row has been filled with the reporters. Again, yesterday was a total pistol whipping by the press. We've never seen anything like it. And here we go. Yeah, all right. There we go.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
Really sorry for the delay. I just got out of the Oval Office with the president, who wanted me to relay a few new messages to you all on Hurricane Beryl. This is important to him, and he knows it's important to the people of Texas, so he wanted to make sure that before I came out here, I had all of this information. So the president spoke with Houston Mayor Whitmire and Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo about the impacts of Hurricane Beryl, and they both asked for help from the federal government. Because of the governor of Texas is currently out of the country, the president then called the lieutenant governor of Texas to ensure that Texans are getting the resources they need and deserve following this devastating storm. On the call, the president raised the need for a major disaster declaration and immediately approved it while on the call when the lieutenant governor requested it. With this major disaster declaration in place, we will be able to provide life-saving and life-sustaining activities. The president and his team have been working around the clock for the past 2 days to ensure Texas has the resources and tools needed to respond to Beryl and keep Americans safe. Officials from the U.S. Coast Guard.
Hey, where's the volume? Where's the volume?
Officials have been in constant contact with their counterpart. While the storm has passed, our greatest concern right now is power outages and extreme heat. So we want to encourage residents to remain vigilant as temperatures rise, especially older adults and those with underlying health conditions. Fortunately, 800,000 have had power restored overnight, and we expect another 1 million to have their power restored today. The federal government has also offered generators to help reduce the impact of the power outages. The president continues to take decisive action to help the people of Texas recover, and he looks forward to working with the state to get more critical resources to the people that need them. I also want to share one additional scheduling item with all of you as well at the top. In addition to many NATO meetings we announced yesterday, on Thursday afternoon, President Biden will meet with President Zelensky of Ukraine to discuss our unwavering support for Ukraine as it continues to defend itself from Russian aggression. That meeting will be at 1:30 p.m. at the Convention Center, which, as you all know, is where the NATO sessions are being held, and it will take place just before the NATO-Ukraine Council meeting. This will be the third meeting between both presidents in recent weeks, following their sit-down in France and also a sit-down at the G7 in Italy, and it will further demonstrate the strength of the partnership between our countries. And finally, just a personal note here, I want to say a few words about Sam Michel here, who served as acting deputy press secretary for a good part of this year. We are sad that today is indeed his last day, but we are so grateful for his service. And he has been an incredible colleague. We were lucky to have him on our team, on our press team. His sharpness, his ability to stay calm under pressure, and his strategic thinking has been a real asset to us all. Sam, you will be greatly missed. Thank you so much for being on the team and stepping in when we really needed you. Okay. All right. Sung Ming.
Thank you. I just want to get a clarification on the letter that was sent last night.
Sure, absolutely.
From Dr. O'Connor. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it didn't seem to explicitly describe the nature of Dr. Kennard's meeting with Dr. O'Connor. So can you say whether that one meeting was related to care for the president himself?
I can say that it was not.
Okay, great. And can I just ask why that information that was released last night just wasn't said at the briefing yesterday?
Well, no, actually, a lot of what is in the letter was said at the briefing, to be very, very clear. I said many of the things that were laid out in the letter was actually repeated right here behind this lectern at this podium yesterday. It was
said that.
Hold on. I said many of the things, and we got clarification, obviously, from Dr. O'Connor, but it was in line with what I said. When I said only three, right? I said only 3 visits that this particular doctor had. I said a neurologist. What I was not able to confirm is the name, and the reason why is because we do not share private information. That is something that we respect, and we wanted to make sure that we protected our consultants here that work with the White House Medical Unit, their security as well. And so that is the one thing that I was not able to confirm. Obviously, Dr. O'Connor's letter confirms that, but we had to get permission from Dr. Kennard and also the president in order to put that information. And it is not normal. And that also states that in Dr. O'Connor. But many of the things that I said right here at this podium is in the letter.
And can I just also ask a little, this is the second time in less than a week where the briefing had prompted a need for later clarification on questions about the president's health. And I'm just wondering if you could speak to.
So I disagree. I disagree, Sung Ming. It's not. Yesterday, a lot of the things that I said right here in this briefing room, I know you were not in the briefing room. It's in the letter. It was in the letter. It was being incorrectly assumed and insinuated that the president had seen Dr. Kennard more than 3 times. I said that it was only 3 times that the president had seen a neurologist. I didn't confirm the name, but I did say it was only 3 times. It was being incorrectly assumed and insinuated that the president was being treated for Parkinson's. I said right here that the president was not being treated for Parkinson's. I actually went a step further and said he wasn't taking medication for Parkinson's. I said that right here. It was also being assumed and insinuated that Dr. Kennard was someone who only worked on Parkinson's when in fact he's a general neurologist. That was something that Dr. O'Connor was actually able to confirm, that he was a general neurologist, not in fact a general neurologist. And we also wanted to set the record straight. And so, it is important. We believed it was important to all of you. I actually even said here at the podium, if there was more information that we could provide, we would do that. We would do that. And we did. But many of the things that I said right here is in the letter.
Does the president feel like he's beat back this effort to force him to step aside?
Look, you heard the president yesterday when he called into Morning Joe, did about 18 minutes of Q&A yesterday morning. He spoke very, very, I think, forcefully, passionately about where he stands, about how he sees things moving forward. And we also have said many times, we respect members of Congress, we respect their view. But I also want to say there's a long list of congressional members who have been very clear and in support of this president, whether it's the CBC, who gave a full support, the Congressional Black Caucus, for folks who are watching and are not sure what CBC is. They were very much supportive. They said, we think that this is Representative Joyce Beatty, to be clear. We think that the call went extremely well. The president was very responsive. Representative Troy Carter, who's also a member of the CBC, he was elated to hear directly from the president, and that he is all in, and we are all in with him. You got a Congressional Hispanic Caucus. They put out a statement in full support of this president, and there are others. And so, look, he is going to focus on continuing to work on behalf of the American people, continuing to build on an unprecedented record that he's been able to get done with many of these congressional members that he's proud to have worked with. But that's his focus right now. That's his focus.
He's still talking to more people, more.
He's going to continue to engage, as you saw him in Pennsylvania when he was when he was in the Commonwealth on the road. He had two of the senators, two of the congressional members with him, the House members with him. He's going to be traveling later in the week. He's going to be engaging. I mentioned yesterday his robust schedule for the next 2 weeks when he's in state. He certainly would continue to engage. I don't have a list of additional calls to read out, but he did CBC last night, Congressional Black Caucus, and he's going to continue and engage as he has been. Get Mary.
To follow on that, the president has made clear he's done talking about the debate. It is time to move on.
Yeah.
But some of his allies have made clear they're very much still in this wait and see mode. I mean, Senator Patty Murray saying he must do more to demonstrate he can campaign strong enough to beat Trump. Senator Durbin saying he's concerned whether this is just a one-off or a larger issue. So I guess, how worried is the president that despite his best efforts, he's not going to be able to close the book on
there's support there as well for him. And so we just want to make sure that we put that out there as well.
the party united behind him,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. And look, Representative Gregory Meeks said, coming out of the congressional Democrats meeting, said that they're united. And you just saw the Dem Caucus leadership take questions from some of your colleagues over at the Capitol. So that is important as well to note. But look, he had a bad night. We've talked about it. He understands people's concerns. We have been out there, as we have been, from some of your colleagues over at the Capitol. So that is important as well to note. But look, he had a bad night. We've talked about it. He understands people's concerns. We have been out there, as we have been in previous months, but out there obviously in the past 10 days, more than 10 days now, since the debate. And you see from his engagement with everyday people on the ground, you see him with congressional members who are showing their support, speaking on behalf of this president while we're on the ground in that respective state or Commonwealth, being where we were in Pennsylvania on Sunday. And so we're just going to continue that. But look, what I can say is, look, we respect people's opinion. You just mentioned two senators that we were very proud working with over the past 3.5 years to get historic legislation done. And that's what we want to focus on. You're right. We do want to turn the page. You heard me say this last week. We want to get to the other side of this. We want to continue doing the work. And that's what the president's going to do.
And just to be clear, does he have plans to talk with leadership again soon?
I don't have any call. We don't have calls to read out or to preview. He is going to continue to engage. I just don't have anything right now to share at this moment. He talked to CBC, again, the Congressional Black Caucus members yesterday. They had a very, very good call. And so he's going to continue to engage. Okay.
Thanks, Corinne. The White House has obviously fielded a lot of questions in recent days about the president's health, whether the White House has been forthcoming or not about that issue. And I just wondered, have the last 12 days made you reconsider any specific statements that you might have made in recent months on that issue?
I appreciate the question. I really do, and the opportunity. I think there has been moments here when I have said, and especially in the gaggle, I think, and actually yesterday, if I have, said misled in something that I've said or haven't had the full information, I actually own up to that. And I actually say, I will do my best to get you the information. Hence the letter for Dr. O'Connor, right? And so I will, I've always said, I've always been committed to doing the best I can to give you the information that we have. That is a commitment from the team. It has been an unprecedented time. I think you guys could admit that, right? It is an unprecedented time. And so we are meeting the moment, a new moment that has never really existed before. And so we want to make sure that we get you all the information that we have. And when we don't have it, we do try our best to provide that information. And so that is something that I'm going to continue to do. And I've always said it is an honor and a privilege to be standing in front of you every day, exercising in the freedom of the press. This is a briefing that is watched around the world because we lead in democracy, right? We lead in the freedom of the press and what that looks like. Honor and privilege, and I will continue to do my best to do just that.
All right, we will be taking a 2-minute break on Live Now from Fox as the White House briefing continues.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, switch back. Sorry, we're doing our best here to get you a feed that is sharp and a feed that is loud, and now these feeds keep effing up. So kill the audio, please, and let's go back once again to one of our backup feeds. Incredible! What an absolute S show. We're still going to blame the White House for being an hour and 40 minutes late. Go.
That is something that I probably should give a little space to kind of see exactly what you're speaking of.
Okay, and that's fine if that ends up.
I just want to make sure that we kind of give some context here.
Yeah. And you'll remember this. This was an event where the president called out Congresswoman Jackie Walorski, looked for her in the room, even though she had recently died. You told multiple reporters at the time, and this was asked in multiple different ways.
She was top of mind.
Right. It was because she was top of mind for the president. I mean, would you, on that example, would you offer a different explanation?
I would not, because honestly, I spoke to the president right before coming out that day, and that is what the president told me. It's not something that came from me. That is something that came from the president.
So he was saying, even as he was looking for her in the moment, it wasn't a
She was top of mind.
Okay.
That is coming, as you just said in your question. I speak for the president. I speak on behalf of him. That was coming from him, and I was delivering directly from the president what he was thinking at the time.
Great. A very different kind of example, and this is more recent.
Oh, sure.
When the president was in Italy for the G7, and you remember he skipped one of the leaders' dinner, which was a major event for the summit. And I remember you were asked about it by reporters, and you said, we shouldn't read too much into the fact that he's skipping one dinner. I mean, would the explanation actually have been that he was tired and that he needed to skip something that was happening so late in the evening?
My answer stays the same. I wouldn't read too much into it. It's not the first time that he has. He has a really busy schedule, and there's a lot going on. As you know, when the president is abroad, he has continued to do domestic stuff as well as meeting with global leaders. And so I truly would not read too much into it, and I will leave it there.
Okay, I have a very final question on the annual
Sure.
letter from Dr. O'Connor. He said that the president continues to be fit for duty and fully executes all of his responsibilities without any exemptions or accommodations. Just because it's been a couple of months, do you know if that statement is still accurate?
It's still accurate.
So no exemptions, no accommodations?
No exemptions, no accommodations. Thank you.
Kareem, there was an announcement from the Department of Justice today about a crackdown effort to interrupt a Russian state-sponsored bot operation, AI-fueled operation, to denigrate politicians in the United States and elsewhere. Do you have any concerns right now that this is the leading edge of any part of a Russian effort to interfere in the election? Has the president been briefed on this? And have you seen any evidence that the Russians or other foreign powers have tried to seize on the debate performance to repeat some of the president's most embarrassing moments?
So that's a very good question. I would have to talk to our team about those particular questions that you just asked. There were multiple questions in your statement there. I would leave it to the Department of Justice as what they announced. Obviously, that's for them to speak to. Look, AI has always been a concern. That's why the president made some announcements recently, an executive to take executive action on how we can deal with AI. We want to see more action, more fulsome action legislatively from Congress, and that is something. It is a cutting edge technology that we need to get our hands on and get a better better understanding of what it could potentially do. And so that is something that the president certainly is looking to make sure that we deal with this in a full whole of government way. On those particular questions, I would have to check in with our team here, and obviously whatever's related to the Department of Justice in that statement, I would refer you to them.
Yeah, that's great. You said just a minute ago that the president wants to turn the page on the last couple of weeks and get to the other side of this, where the White House wants to. Has President Biden seen enough support over the last 36 hours from fellow Democrats in Congress to now start turning the page and look ahead? I mean, what's his reaction been to what he's seen since Congress has gotten back?
I mean, it's very similar to how I answered the question to one of your colleagues. He's very much focused on what's ahead, right? He's very much focused. He has a fulsome, robust schedule the next 2 weeks that we laid out for all of you. He wants to focus on that, the messages that he wants to come out when he goes to Texas next week, when he goes to Vegas next week. He's going to be on the road on Friday as well. And I also want to say, look, he is proud of the Congressional Black Caucus, who said they have he has their support. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus did the same, and other members of Congress, obviously. And so, look, he wants to move forward. As your colleague said, definitely unite the party, continuing to unite the party. We heard from Representative Meeks, who said that Democrats, the Congressional Democrats, came out of the meeting today united. I think that's important to note. But the president's going to move forward. He's going to move forward, and he's going to continue to go out there, engage with the American public, like you saw him do in Pennsylvania, and he's going to stay focused on that.
What do you feel? Does he feel like he's weathered this storm, so to speak?
Look, I think that he is more determined than ever to continue to get the job done, to continue to build an economy that works for all, to continue to make sure that we have a middle class, right, that is strong, right, that we don't have a trickle-down economy, that economy that's built from the bottom up, middle out. That's what he wants to continue to do. I think this week with the NATO summit, the 75th year of NATO, let's not forget, NATO has helped to protect Americans and also protect the world and what it's been able to do for the past 75 years. You're going to see the president engaging with 32 leaders of this alliance. I think that's really important. That's, again, on behalf of the American people. So he wants to do that. He has a lot on his mind, and as it deals with making sure we deliver for the American people, that's what he's going to focus on. Okay, Peter, I know we had our chat yesterday.
Yes, thank you,
So
Corinne.
go ahead.
Does President Biden
Here we go.
a full second term if reelected?
Yes.
Thank you. We know the president says that his health is fine, but it's just his brain, and that he's sharpest before
He was joking, by the way. I just want to make sure that that's out there. He was making a lighthearted joke as he was
That he has
speaking
problems
off.
with his brain.
He's speaking off the cuff and was making a joke. You know the president; he likes to joke a lot. He's the same guy who says, "I know I look 40," right? So he likes to make jokes. It is a joke.
Okay.
I think people laugh when he says it.
Well, he
So it
also
is a
said
joke.
he's sharpest before 8 p.m. So say that the Pentagon at some point picks up an incoming nuke. It's 11 p.m. Who do you call? The First Lady?
He lets him know of any news that is pertinent and important to the American people. He has someone or that is decided obviously with his National Security Council on who gets to tell him that news.
So Kevin McCarthy just said that when he was the speaker, many times when we had meetings in the Oval Office, Jill was there as well. When the First Lady's in these meetings, is she making decisions or is she just advising the president?
No, the president is the president of the United States. He makes decisions.
Okay. Another family member, President Biden has told me before, he and his son don't have any business dealings together. So what is Hunter Biden doing in White House meetings?
Are you talking about the meeting where they came together from Camp David and the two of them walked to the president's meeting and he was there?
There's a report that aides were struck by his presence during their discussions.
Look, I'm certainly not going to get into private conversations that occur. What I can say is, and I spoke to this before, is that when they came back from Camp David, the president spent a couple of days at Camp David with his family. He is very close to his family, as you know. It was the week of 4th of July, which is why his family members were here last week. They walked together into the meeting.
Can you say if Hunter Biden has access to classified information?
No.
And are you guys just not, since February, testing President Biden for Parkinson's or for dementia? Because if he gets a bad result, it's all over that day.
Again, as I've said many times before, the president has had a fulsome, comprehensive, what we shared with you was comprehensive, but he's had a full physical. We've shown the results of those physicals this past 3 years. We showed it just 4 months ago. And it is in line with what we have done, similar to President Obama, similar to George W. Bush. We are committed to continue to be transparent. We are committed to continue to show the results of those physicals. And look, it's the president's medical team that makes the decision. We are not, with all due respect, you're not a doctor, I'm not a doctor. It is the president's medical unit that makes a decision on what the president needs.
Not a doctor, just play one on TV. But I know that
scary.
That is scary. But I know that, especially as adults get into their 80s, health conditions can pop up more than just once a year when he's getting his physical. I think if my wife saw me on TV misspeaking or saying the wrong thing or seeing a change in my appearance, she would probably say, let's go to a doctor just to make sure that you are okay, you have a family, you have an important job. Why doesn't anybody in the president's family urge him just to go to get checked out to say the coast is clear?
Okay, so just to step back just a little bit, because I think you weren't in the briefing room last week. I don't want to go backwards, but just to share a little bit about that night. The president said it was a bad night. He talked about it. He had a cold, right? He talked about his schedule, right? Being abroad. And so we spoke about what that night was like for him. And we understand what the American people saw, what you all saw. We've spoken to that. And I also would say, and I think you know this, Peter, you've covered a couple of administrations at this point, that the president, every president, has a White House medical unit that is with him 24/7, that is available to him 24/7. That is unlike any other American, right? That is not the norm. That is uncommon. Just down on the other side of the colonnade is where the medical unit is. And I did share that the president checks in while he's exercising with his doctor a couple times a week. And so he has that. He has something that majority of Americans, all Americans, I would probably argue, don't have, which is a full medical unit that is with him at all times. And he gets a full physical, annual physical that we share with all of you. And that is very different than an everyday American who sometimes they're lucky if they can go get a physical. They have to get into a car. They have to take public transportation. The president has, again, a medical unit that's with him here at the White House and travels.
So I guess the question is just, you're saying this is not a situation where you would rather just not know if there is an
What I
issue
will
with the
tell you
president,
is-
because if he
No.
does get a bad result, it is all over. He has
First
to
of all-
leave office
first of
right
all-
away. Can't run for re-election.
First of all, it's a hypothetical, right? That you're giving me a hypothetical. But I will also say, just to clear this up, the White House medical unit, his doctor, they don't believe that he needs anything more than what we have been able to provide. A full, detailed, very comprehensive physical that he had 4 months ago. It is their decision to make. It's not yours. It's not mine. It's the White House medical unit.
I agree. And you mentioned that the Democratic Party was united, perhaps leadership, but a lot of rank and file Democrats have a lot of concerns. One of them, Steve Cohen, said today, not only are they not on the same page, but they're not even in the same book. How does the White House, is the White House concerned about that?
Look, I've said before, right? We respect congressional members. They have their opinions. We respect their opinions. Many of them that we had to opportunities to deliver really good results on behalf of the American people. But there is the whole Congressional Black Caucus. They support the president. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus support the president. Those are pretty impressive numbers. Senator Coons, Senator Fetterman support the president. There's also another list here that shows support for this president. You're going to have some congressional members who feel differently. That is up to them, right? The president wants to continue. He's going to have those conversations. He's going to engage with congressional members. He's going to continue to do that as he has. That's not going to stop. Obviously, the campaign is doing their work. We're doing continuing our engagement with congressional members as we do pretty much all the time on whatever issue we want to work with them on. So that's not going to change. You heard from AOC, the Congresswoman from New York. She said the matter is closed and I support him. Right? You heard from Maxwell Frost, who was on CNN today, was very supportive on CNN. So you do have others out there just today or yesterday, giving support to the president. I can't, you're mentioning one person, but there are others as well. Yeah.
Oh, on a separate topic slightly. Senator Richmond this morning, he said that the debate stage was words, the debate stage was performance. I would say look at actions and accomplishments. President's allies have made some version of that argument to not pay attention to what he said on stage, but what his accomplishments are. But when you're the president of the United States, don't words matter?
So when you're the president of the United States, I think any leader, right, especially including a former president, your words do matter. You're 100% correct. The president has owned up to that night. He said it was a bad night. He said this many times. He's even said he screwed up. So those are the president's words. That's all I can give you at this time. We do believe that we should not just look at the 90 minutes. The president has done more than any other modern day presidents, administrations. Historic things have gotten done. When I was watching the Democratic caucus, they talked about $35 insulin, right? Capping that. When you think about seniors who are paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars, we were able to get that done because of a very important piece of legislation that we moved through, right? And only Democrats made that happen. That's also because of the leadership of this president. And that's just one. That's a bipartisan infrastructure legislation. There's the CHIPS and Science Act. There's the PACT Act for our veterans. I mean, there are things that he's been able to do that elected officials, presidents before him have been trying to do and could not get done, beating big pharma. So there is a long list of impressive things that this president has been able to get done, getting us out of the pandemic, that we do believe is important to note here as well as an accomplishment of this presidency.
Another question that I don't think has been asked, correct me if it has. The White House and also the campaign has said that he had a cold that night. He then went to a watch party afterwards, which you have brought up. I was at that watch party. If he did have a cold, why then push him to another event where he spent 45 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, and not just and I would add to that, it wasn't just a watch party. We landed at 2 a.m. in the morning in North Carolina. He greeted hundreds of North Carolinians in North Carolina. He woke up the next day in North Carolina, gave a speech in front of thousands of North Carolinians. No. I'm just trying to lay. You gave me an opportunity, and I'm just using that opportunity, obviously, to lay out what the president did in those 2.5 days. Look, one of the reasons that we shared that he had a cold is because during the debate in real time, everybody heard his hoarse voice, and folks asked, and we were able to confirm right away that he had a cold, and that he was also tested negative for COVID. So we were able to share that in real time. So just also want to share that. Look, he pushed forward, right? Many of us have colds, and we still push forward. He's the president of the United States. He understands how important it is to continue to get up every morning, regardless of how you feel, right, to get things done. That's how this president is. I'm sure that's how many presidents before him were as well, when it comes to really not letting a cold get you down. And I think that's also why he pushed forward in the debate also on that night. So look, he pushed forward, tried to get things done, wanted to make sure that he had an opportunity. People who watched him do a debate, who were waiting for him, people at 2:00 in the morning in North Carolina who were waiting for him. He wanted to make sure that he engaged with Americans.
And finally, Karine, this morning House Speaker Mike Johnson said, as he has before, that Democrats have been covering up the president's mental acuity for years. How do you respond to that? And has the White House misled Americans?
So I will say this, Americans out there, folks who are watching, who are not normally in the day-to-day of what's happening in this world, there is a comprehensive full comprehensive medical report on the website, whitehouse.gov. I would encourage them to take a look, read that report, and they can also read for themselves what his specialist, a group of specialists coming out of the medical unit decided on, what they examined, what they saw, what they reported on. I think that matters as well. It is a group of them that come together when it comes to doing their physical. It is extensive physical. And so there is something there for them. It's transparent. It's out there. It's for them to read. It's for the American, not just for you, for the American people to take a look. And I think that's important to note as well. And that's what I would share with them. Okay, and I'll come to you, Ed, in a second.
Thanks, Karina. The president said yesterday in his letter, in his interview, that he talked to a wide range of voters. He overwhelmingly heard from people that they wanted him to stay in the race. Our polling shows that 76% of Democrats think he is too old to run this year. How is he coming to this conclusion? Are you sure that a handful of events is giving him a representative view of swing state voters?
So look, that has been, you all have asked me about polling and his age for, I feel like a year now. It's come up many, many times. And, I'm not going to speak to polls. It's not something I'm going to do from here. I'm just going to let the experts, the pundits, and all of you. No, wait. I was about to answer a question. Just give me a second. Look, for the past 3.5 years, the president has been out there talking to voters. And if you think about, what he was referring to when he went to Atlanta right after the watch party, he literally did a rope line. Some of your colleagues were there. Some of your colleagues spoke to some of the folks who were there and heard from them directly. He heard from folks at the rope line. I mean, these are everyday, engaging with everyday people. That's what he did. Landed at 2 a.m. in the morning in North Carolina, hundreds of people there. He did a rope line, engaged with everyday people. The next day, thousands of people were at the North Carolina event, and you heard chants, "Let's go, Joe. We love you, Joe." I mean, that's something that you feel, right? That's something that you feel out there, and that's what he feels out there. The next day, he went to New York, and he was able to speak to some supporters there, and then went to New Jersey. So it is a continuation. On Sunday, 600 people at the church. If you watch that service, you heard from that congregation. If you watched him in Harrisburg, you saw him engaging with people. I mean, there's nothing that takes away, all respect to the polling out there, but nothing takes away, I don't think, from engaging with everyday Americans. I think that matters too. And I'm just laying out the last 10 or 12 days, right? That's just the last 10 or 12 days.
Over the weekend, the New York Times reported on a senior White House official who apparently had worked with the president in his vice presidency in the 2020 campaign, said he shouldn't seek re-election. They thought he was not up to it. He was showing signs of his age. Just as the White House, know who this person is or making the effort to find out? And are you comfortable having someone who apparently is traveling with him and working with him this way who thinks this?
I mean, look, that is the first time I've ever heard that was in that reporting. This is not the last administration where we try to find who is speaking or leaking. That's not something that we do here. Everybody has their opinion, but that is the first time I've ever heard anything like that. I've never heard anyone speak in that way from here. Get it.
To follow up on something you were saying, Gabe, about congressional outreach, has the president spoken to, does he plan to speak with any of those that have publicly called for him to go?
Look, I don't have a list of people that the president's going to call. He's going to engage with congressional members. That's something that he's going to do. I can say, I'm sure folks here in his Office of Legislative Affairs has had regular communication with everyone. I just don't have a list of who he's going to speak to. But the president is always willing to speak to people who agree with him and don't agree with him. You know that about him. If you've covered him, he's very much that type of president.
Right.
I just don't want to get ahead of his decision on who he's going to call and how that's going to look.
One thing I don't think we've gotten public clarification about yet. In the interview Friday night, he was asked, did you watch the debate? And he said, I don't think I did. No. Did he watch the full debate, or what of it has he watched?
That's a good question. I never followed up with him, and I meant to. I have not asked him that question. I was there in the room when he was being asked that question. I just never followed up. That is something that, we could follow up with him on. I have not. I'm sure he's seen clips. I just haven't, asked him that full question.
So I could, one other thing that's come up.
It's getting round the clock coverage, right? From all of you.
One other thing that's come up in the last little bit, the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, I don't know if you've seen this, issued a statement a little while ago saying in part, in recent weeks, Iranian government actors have sought to opportunistically take advantage of ongoing protests regarding the war in Gaza, the playbook we've seen other actors use over the years. We've observed actors tied to Iran's government posing as activists online, seeking to encourage protests and even providing financial support to protesters. She goes on later to urge Americans to remain vigilant as they engage online with accounts and actors they don't personally know. But that's a pretty big charge to make, that Iran may be trying to influence these protests in the streets of the United States.
So yes, I know what you're speaking of, what the DNI warned about. Obviously, for any specifics, I would have to refer you back to Director Haynes and her statement. But broadly speaking here, just bear with me for a second. Iran is seeking to opportunistically take advantage of protest. So I want to echo the DNI's remarks today. Americans across the political spectrum acting in good faith have sought to express their own independent views on the conflict in Gaza. The freedom to express diverse views when done peacefully is essential to our democracy. At the same time, the U.S. government has a duty to warn Americans about foreign malign influences activities. This is important to help Americans guard against efforts by foreign powers to take advantage of or co-opt their legitimate protest activities. We will continue to provide these warnings as they arise. And today, I just want to convey and a firm message from here to Iran and any other foreign actor that seek to conduct these types of influence activities, meddling in our politics and seeking to stroke division is unacceptable. And we will continue to
stroke division
to undermine our democracy and
Stroke
our society, just as we are today. That is something that we will continue to do. The U.S. government will continue to vigorously support and defend Americans in their exercise of their First Amendment rights to protest and express political views peacefully. At the same time, we will continue to warn against expose foreign efforts to meddle in our internal affairs and attempt to amplify conflict. The former is an essential part of the robust functioning democracy. The latter is a threat, and it will not be tolerated.
And
Reading directly from the note
He's
cards.
been
problem
briefed.
with it being shared publicly.
He's been briefed. He's been read in. He is aware. And we believe, as I just stated here, it is our duty. It is our duty here as the U.S. government to share that. Okay.
I have a question about the NATO summit.
Sure.
There has been a lot of discussion about Ukraine, but also the southern flank of NATO, countries like Italy and Spain. They want the summit to approve a new strategy to improve relations with countries in North Africa, the Middle East, and work together in challenges like migration or instability. So, does the US support this, and is the president trying to or planning to meet with any leaders of the southern flank?
So, look, I think we announced some of the bilateral. We announced the one with the UK Prime Minister. I just announced with President Zelensky. We will do our best. You know, the president is hosting the 75th NATO summit, so he's going to be pretty busy engaging with global leaders and obviously hosting the event. So, if we have anything more to share, I know my colleagues at the National Security Council will do our best to share that with you. I'm not going to. We're going to have some deliverables. We're going to have some statements to make, declarations. I'm not going to get ahead of any of that. So I'm just going to let this summit begin and let the president actually lead these next couple of days.
Does the president support this strategy?
I'm saying to you, I'm not going to get ahead of the summit. We're going to have many conversations, many meetings here. I just want to be super mindful. You also asked me about any other bilateral engagements. We've already announced two, and so just don't want to get ahead of anything else. Things happen. When the president is there, he gets pulled to the side. We do pull asides. We try to share them in real time as quickly as possible. I just don't have anything to share outside of that.
Sticking with NATO, are there any details you can share on President Biden's meeting with President Zelensky? Just any details on potentially what they might discuss? If Biden had said he would announce new air defense for Ukraine, will that come up at all?
We will definitely. There will be more air defense that we will be announcing. Don't want to get ahead of the president. Look, you saw, as I announced at the top, you saw the president do a bilat with President Zelensky in France and also at the G7. It is always obviously part of those conversations is to continue to show our unwavering support for Ukraine. The president has led in this effort globally, right? If you think about NATO and how the strength of NATO and how it has grown +2. And how we have been able to have a stronger alliance than we've ever had before. That's because of this president. And backing, obviously, behind Ukraine, that's because of this president. So our support continues to be unwavering, and we will have more to read out from that byline.
And as it's the 75th anniversary, Biden's here in DC, obviously, but what does the success look like for Biden, given everything that is going on in kind of the debate aftermath? Kind of what is he measuring?
So I'll say this, and I've said this many times before as it relates to foreign leaders. And look, I'll say that the foreign leaders have had an opportunity to see what the president has been able to do in the last 3.5 years. They've seen that certainly up close and personal the last 3 years, and they know that they are dealing with a president who has been effective and has been able to get things done. I just talked about NATO and the president's leadership and how we've been able to strengthen NATO, make sure that we invigorated the NATO alliance, and that we've been able to see in the last 3.5 years. So the president wants to continue to strengthen that partnership and strengthen those alliances. Obviously, it's not going to just be NATO allies here. We're going to see others. For example, Japan will be here on Thursdays, and other heads of states. I believe there's going to be 38 heads of states that'll be here, and so we want to continue to strengthen those relationships, and that's what the president wants to see. It is an important year, the 75th anniversary, and I think all of the work that the president has been able to do will be on full display.
One last question. If the president's health were to decline rapidly next week, just kind of out of the blue, have you had any conversations with him, or has he made any comments on if
Absolutely
he would
not.
step aside?
That's a hypothetical. No. Okay.
During stay on the NATO summit, while the summit, of course, is being held in Washington, China is criticizing NATO as the relic of Cold War. It's causing high security risk to the world and the region. What is the White House response to this?
So look, Russia's aggression against Ukraine poses a threat to transatlantic security. That's what it does. And it shows how critical the NATO alliance is and how important it is to continue to make sure that it is strong And that's what the president has been able to do. I'm not surprised. We are not surprised that China doesn't understand that though considering how they are actively enabling, right? They are themselves enabling Russia's war in Ukraine. So it doesn't surprise me or surprise us that statement was made. But look, NATO is an important alliance. It's been around for 75 years, protecting U.S. Americans, American citizens, but also the world. And so we are going to continue to strengthen that alliance.
Second question. Indian Prime Minister Modi is visiting Russia. We all seen the footage that he's hugging, being friendly with Putin, also seeking deepen bilateral relationship. We see that saw that Ukrainian President Zelensky already expressed his disappointment. Is the United States concerning that India, as a U.S. ally, might be actually adding Russia, either unintentionally or intentionally?
I believe my NSC colleagues have spoken to this. I'll just add that and just reiterate that India is a strategic partner with whom we engage in full and frank dialogue, including their relationship with Russia. And we've talked about this before. So we think it's critical that all countries, including India, support efforts to realize an enduring and just peace when it comes to Ukraine. It is important for all our allies to realize this. And so we also believe India's longstanding relationship with Russia gives it the ability to urge the President Putin, to end his brutal war, an unprovoked war in Ukraine. It is for President Putin to end. President Putin started the war, and President Putin can end the war. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Karine. A couple questions on unrelated subjects. First, there's been some reporting by my colleagues in the British press that His Majesty King Charles would like to visit his grandchildren in California and could do so in conjunction with a state visit. Has there been any discussion, or will there be any discussion between President Biden and Prime Minister Starmer about such a visit?
So I don't have anything to share. That is something, obviously, that the State Department and NSC would certainly engage on if that were to be the case. As you know, the new Prime Minister will be here for the NATO alliance. I just mentioned that there will be a bilat between President Biden and the new Prime Minister. So the President looks forward to that. An upcoming visit that involves the King Charles. I don't have anything to share at this time.
Okay, next question. The President yesterday on Morning Joe said he wanted to make sure that the average voter out there still wants Joe Biden to be running for president. And you've rattled off a long list of campaign engagements that he's had over the last 10 or so days since the debate. Those engagements, whenever the president travels, whether it's part of the campaign or official travel, there are advance teams. People who get near him are screened either by the Secret Service or the campaign or both. So how are these groups of people he's meeting with supporters of his? They are supporters. They get to these official events, these official campaign events. They are known to be supporters of the campaign. They self-select by coming to his events. How are groups of people that come to his events, make the time out of their day to do that, and are vetted by the campaign and allowed into these events, representative of the average voter?
So look, I'm going to be really careful because you're asking me a political question. You would have to talk to the campaign on how the process works, right? No, wait. Give me a second. On how that process works, on who's at these campaign events. So I just want to make that clear because I have to say that from here and make that clear. I would remind you that 14 million people, this is something that I can talk about, voted for the president in the primary. That's 87% of the vote. That matters. Those numbers matter. So that is kind of a reality, a data point that matters as well. And so I'll just leave it there. But I think it does matter. I hear the question that you're asking. He's still engaging with everyday people. He's still hearing directly from them. They're still sharing information, sharing how they feel, sharing how they see the future his presidency, and I think that matters as well. As far as who's in the room, how that comes together, who's in front of him, you would have to speak to the campaign about that.
Last thing, you've described his engagements with Dr. O'Connor on a regular basis as check-ins. That's what you've described him having after the debate, a check-in versus an exam. Can you elaborate on what the difference is between a check-in and an exam? At these check-ins, does Dr. O'Connor or another staff member take the president's vitals or anything like that?
So I've talked about this on Friday. They're verbal check-ins with the president. They check in as the president's exercising. That's usually how this happens. And they're not a medical exam. I said this already. I've cleared that up. They're not. It's not a physical. It is a verbal check-in that the president does multiple times with his doctor. It's normally as he's working out.
Does anyone from the medical unit take the president's vitals on a regular basis?
What I can tell you is he gets regular check-ins. He does regular check-ins a couple times a week with Dr. O'Connor, and that is for his doctor to decide on. That is not something that I can speak to from here. Go ahead, Karen.
Thank you. The president's come out very aggressively in the past 24 hours, from that letter to Democrats, the call into MSNBC, the phone call with donors, the CPC last night. Was that his decision personally to step up that outreach?
It has been. He's ready. He's on fire. He's ready to go. And
He's on
he wants to
fire.
get out there and continue to show that he has more work to do. Right? He has more important issues for the American people to get done, and so he wants to get out there. He's always has, though. I mean, the last 2.5 years, 3 years, 3.5 years, he looks forward to getting out there, speaking directly to the American people. And I know we say this, and I know sometimes you guys don't believe us, but he does want to engage with you all. He does want to talk more to the press. And so now we're certainly going to continue to create opportunities to do that. He's done interviews 47 times in this year alone, and we're going to continue to create opportunities to do this. We're going to get out there so he can engage with the American people more directly. So we're going to continue to do that.
But in terms of, especially in the last 24 hours, that type of outreach to ease concerns among Democrats about his campaign continuing, was there something specific that he heard or read that prompted this, would seem more like a flurry over the last 24 hours that didn't happen last week? We really saw him doing more.
I get it. No, I get the question. Look, I wouldn't say there's anything specific. This is something that he wanted to do. And if you think about it, he's been on the road a lot since the debate. He was on the road on Friday. He was on the road on Sunday, and then right out of the debate, right, he did about 2.5 days of going into about 4 states. So he's just been on the road, busy, engaging with Americans. And he did the ABC interview, as you know, obviously. And so he wants to do more. He wants to do more. There's nothing specific, but he understands. He understands what you all saw, right? He understands he had a bad debate. He understands that what Americans saw. So he wants to go out there and continue to prove to all of you that he can continue to do the work and the job.
Oh, yeah,
Outreach is working to ease those concerns after the bad debate.
I mean, look, I think he's, this is kind of the questions that I got from other colleagues. He's hearing directly from the American people, and I think that matters. I think him being out there and them and Americans seeing him directly, being able to touch him and ask him questions and see him face to face, I think that matters. And so, look, we're going to continue to move forward and do what we have to do. All right, I think I can take one more. Go ahead, over there.
Thank you so much. So we've seen the president being on the ground more, but we've also heard a slight.
All right. Okay. Listen, it is my obligation to you as an audience to, not kill you with boredom. And so, again, you never know with these things. You never know. We are a news channel. We do like listening in. We listen in anyway. So we figure the point of the channel is we're watching all this stuff anyway. So we might as well watch it together. If we feel like it's interesting, we're going to toss it up. Everybody's cut away from this because it's oh my gosh, it's like watching paint dry, watching dirt sit on the ground during a light rain sprinkle. It is so unbelievably boring. Cringe Jean Pierre delivering nothing but complete and total lies about Joe Biden's health. Campaigning hard for Joe Biden, like talking about rallies and Joe Biden's message from the campaign. And then as soon as she gets a question she doesn't like, she's like, oh, I can't talk about the campaign from up here. Okay, whatever. Screw that, okay? Screw that. We have real news for you, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking. This is in a preparation for tonight. What you were looking at is the front row of Donald Trump's rally. What you are seeing here is that Barron Trump, Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Kimberly Guilfoyle, all of Donald Trump Jr.'s children, along with, I believe, Ivanka and Jared, will be there at the rally tonight. So what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? This is very much not normal. Now, it is at a Trump property, so it's worth just saying that, okay? But this is not normal. Donald Trump also promoting the rally tonight. Donald Trump talking about, posting on Truth Social his rally and pushing it and promoting it and saying everybody needs to watch. Is there a vice presidential announcement waiting for us tonight? We will be live. We encourage you to come and jump in the chat and watch with us live. We know that Marco Rubio will be there tonight. Again, we have told you quite plainly what our favorites are for vice president. But these are the days, okay? Donald Trump has events starting next week, early next week, with his vice president. It's on the invitations. So events with my vice president starting early next week. So Donald Trump's going to announce his vice president tonight. Who can say? No one knows. So we will be live tonight for the Trump rally and are excited for it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are sorry that that we had such a boring ass press conference. Yesterday it was pure fireworks, and our morning show went too late. And so today we thought, well, might as well be able to, if they go flamethrower in again, we're gonna capture it. Instead, it was a bunch of Xanax. I guess Peter Ducey had chirped off a little bit to KJP, but there was no screaming, no yelling, no crying. And I think there will be screaming, yelling, and crying, though. Plenty of it in the next 118 days to the election. 118 days. We'll have a countdown. Ladies and gentlemen, join us tonight. It's your boy, Benny. And yeah, no need for a Xanax after listening to KJP live for a straight hour, even though she's an hour and 40 minutes late. We'll see you tonight.